Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Yeah. Well, we just have to go ahead and sink our teeth into the planned labor strike today. Well, not nationally in Rivers State, because yesterday we did speak to the president of Nupeng, and he did tell us that they are proceeding with the planned strike today. We're trying to get a hold of the president of the NLC, Ayuba Waba. So we'll keep trying to find out what the situation is, if they are still going on, because Nupeng say they had to respond, heed the call of labor. At the moment, we've got Dr. Chidi Lloyd. He's of the Faculty of Law, University of Enugu, University of Nigeria, Enugu campus. He's a development analyst and a member of the People's Democratic Party. Good morning, and thank you for joining us today. Well, just as we...
Good morning, Chamberlain, and thanks for having me.
All right, just as I highlighted now, yesterday we spoke to Nupeng. They said that they were going ahead, and the previous conferences they've had listed, there was a list of infractions, according to them, that they say the Rivers State government has continued to not treat workers well, and that they will progress. And besides, that they didn't receive any of the said court order, which the Attorney General spoke about in a moment. Do you think that if they don't have any notice whatsoever, that they will be in the clear to proceed?
Well, Chamberlain, I'd like to bring you good news this morning. Ordinarily, I would have come to espouse on the issues that are currently going on. But the good news is that the governor of Rivers State, being a listening governor, has found a solution to the impending planned labor strike based on a perspective of more ideological ground. The labor has called off his planned strike because between last night and the early hours of this morning, some kind of rapprochement have been met, and labor has called off his planned strike. So that's the good news. With that, I don't think we will go into whether they were served or not. All those issues, you recall, they are dealing with the government. The dispute is between labor and government. The government also has an attorney general, which I saw on the promo which you just put up on TV. But no need to go that route now. The most important thing is that the Rivers State government and labor have come to an agreement which was signed in the early hours of this morning.
Okay,
so that will be interesting it will be interesting to hear what labor will say, or how labor would react to that. Of course, it will be good to hear the announcement from them. But one of the issues a number of people will be wondering is why they have to get to this point. Why did the labor have to get to the point of calling the government out, so to speak, before they would get that kind of response from government?
Well, I don't, like I said, ordinarily there won't be any need now, having reached an agreement with labor, to begin to discuss who was right and who was wrong. For workers, the list of their demands is endless, and government will only react based on availability of funds, because no government is elected just to come and pay salaries. You also provide other amenities, but that does not mean that the laborer is not worthy of his wages.
Now, the point that I'm making is, I get what you're saying. It's not. Let's go beyond this issue now. And this has happened a number of times, and it's not likely to happen. For instance, you are not unaware that doctors are also on strike now, and we hear that Johesu is also likely to join them pretty soon. So look beyond one government or the other now. Just look at the issue of the fact that people are supposed to react and respond to issues raised by trade unions or bodies of workers, and they do not respond on time, and then those ones call out the government or call out the authorities, through a strike and all of that. Is there anything you think we can do to stave that off so we don't ever get to that point again?
What can be done is that when agreements are reached, parties must try as much as possible to keep the agreements. I heard the Minister for Labour and Productivity talk, he said that of the 8 things that were agreed, the federal government had met 7. And we also want to plead with the health workers that it is not, calling out its members for strike would not be the best thing to do, especially at this time. It is not reasonable for doctors to embark on strike in the middle of a very serious pandemic such as the coronavirus disease that we are battling. Whatever demands they have must also have a human face. I do not think that calling out workers for strike is the best thing that parties should do. When agreements are reached, parties should try as much as possible to keep agreements.
Well, we'll come to the agreement that you said was reached with the Rivers State government in a moment. But earlier, when you said that, labor's demands are usually never endless, basically, rather are endless, basically saying that there's always a long list of demands that labor puts forward. Are you trying to say that not all their demands have been agreed to in this latest agreement that was signed?
Well, absolutely. The agreements, there were issues. Labour raised some issues which the Rivers State government has also agreed to meet. For example, the check-off dues which Labour intended for the Rivers State government to deduct at source and remit to its union. Some kind of rapprochement has also been met. What is important is that the governor of Rivers State, Barrister E.M. Wike, is a governor that listens. And because he listens, he provides solutions to problems on the framework of a more ideological perspective, which is what they have achieved early this morning. And I want to commend the governor for arresting, as it were, the governor and the parties that were involved for arresting, as it were, a situation which would have snowballed into a full-scale crisis. Because I watched the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress make some statements yesterday of planned invasion or hijack of the strike, as it were. But reason has prevailed, and all that has been put to pass. The parties will now take steps to... A tripartite committee has also been set up to look into the issues that have been raised and work out a proper formula on how to resolve all these problems. I think that is the most important thing. Okay. As human beings, people will always continue to disagree. But what is important is our ability to come to a round table.
So specifically now, has an agreement been reached on the non-payment of salary arrears to the workers, especially teachers and healthcare workers? Has that agreement been reached?
Absolutely.
Okay. How about the non-payment?
The agreement that was reached also has signatures of all the parties involved.
Okay, I'm just trying to get specifics because they had specific demands with the Rivers State government. How about the non-payment of promotion arrears?
The Rivers State government had agreed to pay. The Rivers State government had agreed to pay the health workers whose salaries were suspended for participating in the 2017 strike. I think that was part of the agreement, part of the gross of the NLC. That has also been agreed.
Okay, how about the non-payment of pension and gratuity to retired workers since 2015?
It is not exactly correct that Rivers State government is not paying pension and gratuity, because I do, even if I'm not a staff of Rivers State government, I do have uncles and aunties who have retired from the employment of Rivers State government, and they are enjoying pension. But like I said, as human beings, our needs are endless, and that is how the demands will also be. Government is taking steps. The government of Barrister E.M. Wike is taking steps to meet all the demands of labor. Side by side, the huge infrastructural development that is currently ongoing in Rivers State, which you can also attest to.
Well, just as you said, I mean, if the lists are endless and then the unions themselves too are usually quite a number. So are you saying that this agreement that has been reached will be binding on all the unions and their affiliates in Rivers?
That is why, That is why it is called an agreement. There is a consensus ad idem. The parties have met or have agreed on issues before appending their signatures. The document which I saw online has signatures of all the parties. Those who signed on behalf of government includes the Commissioner for Information, the head of service, who is in charge of civil servants in the state, and so on. So the agreement will be binding. But the position of Rivers State government had always been, look, it's not stopping labor from embarking on strike, but there are condition precedents, conditions that labor must meet before it finally wields the big stick. You must give notice to your employers to say that you are going on strike, and that will be after discussions must have broken down irretrievably. And I think the Rivers State government has also agreed to open the Secretariat, which it built for labor. You know, they had some kind of fantastic relationship before the crisis. The Rivers State government undertook the construction of a massive Secretariat for labor, which was not there before now. So every relationship in life should be symbiotic. It's always give and take.
Okay, does that then mean, I mean, we need to ask you this since you know quite a lot of things about that agreement. So what was the nature of that court injunction anyway? Is it going to be withdrawn? What happens to it?
Yeah, Chamberlain, just like it appears you also have seen the document. The part of the agreement is that parties will discontinue the litigation from all courts. You know, they were supposed to be in court today the 8th. So based on this the agreement that have been reached, that have been signed, parties will take steps to discontinue the various suits that are before the industrial court.
Right. So when you say that, I mean, that court case, because truth is they might discontinue this, you know, the cases and litigations, but we don't know what might happen in future. So it appears as though the Rivers State government had said, well, labor did not follow laid down procedures as enshrined in the act.
All that is now in the past.
No, I understand.
In the past.
But then the challenge is we don't know if it will be in the future and come up again. So what are meant to be the laid down procedures really for embarking on strike actions, at least from what the Rivers State government said?
The reason I am speaking on this topic is because I know the governor of Rivers State. He will not agree to any agreement he will not carry out. So for them to have agreed, know that you can take my word to the bank that the governor of Rivers State, Barrister E.M. Wike, will ensure that he does his own part of the agreement. That I can assure you. That I can tell you for free.
The point
so it is for labor to also, on its part, increase productivity in the state.
I think the point my colleague is making is, okay, we know this agreement with Governor Wike. How about the next governor and the governor after that? Is there a system being built as a result of this one or as a consequence of this particular agreement that will forestall any such thing happening in Rivers State, between Rivers State government and the labor unions in that state, not just because it's one governor, but because it is government?
Well, this is a very important question, and that is why I have said in a different fora, I've said at different fora, that the governor of Rivers State is building institutions, is trying to put in place strong institutions. If we have a strong institution in place, where governments come and go, and the incumbent governor or government will not do what it pleases, then this question will not arise. I'm sure the reason why you are asking the question is that because tomorrow you may have a pharaoh who does not know Joseph. Well, but I'm competent to speak on this pharaoh that I know, that this is a pharaoh that keeps agreements. I think that I would want to limit myself to that and not begin to talk about a governor that will come that I do not know about.
So,
but if a governor comes, it is important that he or she copies good things that the predecessor in office had done.
So on whose instance was this, according to you, rapprochement called? Who initiated, this meeting, which eventually led to the agreement? Because it would seem there was intervention of someone somewhere, or maybe something new. How did this happen?
Well, that's a very good one, but I would like to keep that. I would like to keep that I'm not speaking on behalf of the Rivers State government. I am speaking as a development analyst and as a law teacher. I would not want to reveal how the rapprochement was met. But most is important is that there is some kind of rapprochement that has led to the calling off of the planned protest. I think that is what is important.
Right. We'll still try to get that such that we understand, the context and what exactly happened. But really, looking at the agreement that was signed, you said there's something on social media. We don't exactly have anything official yet. Are there timelines to achieving, these agreements? Because I think sometimes that's a challenge.
Well, that's a good one. What has happened is that the tripartite committee has been set. I'm sure that by the time before I leave the studio, I will make available to you the agreements that have been reached between the Rivers State government and NLC. Steps are to be taken. Everything that was agreed upon there is to take off immediately. And like I said, the person of Governor Nyesom Wike will not agree to anything he will not do. His word is his bond. At least I know him for that.
Okay.
So for them to have agreed on these issues, Labour can go to bed and sleep.
Okay. Well, before they go to sleep, I think we managed to wake the NLC president up, and so he joins us this morning from Rivers State. Good morning, and thank you for joining us today. So tell us, is it true what we hear that the documents circulating, I've just been told now that there's one signatory, Tammy Danagogo, Beatrice Situdo of NLC, are part of the signatories saying this strike has been called off, an agreement has been reached. Is that the case?
Well, thank you very much, Chamberlain. I want to confirm that, yes, we had more than 6 hours marathon meeting yesterday to try to look at the issues, the very thorny issues, and see how they can be resolved through a collective bargaining process and social dialogue. So I can confirm that the two-page document, which has about 8 points, were duly agreed and signed by all the parties, including witnessed by NLC and the Trade Union Congress. And the signatories, as you said, are all the parties that are involved in the dispute, i.e., our state chairperson of Rivers State, the chairperson of the Trade Union Congress, as well as the chairperson of the Joint Public Service Negotiating Council here in Rivers State. And on the government side, I can say also that we had a very high-level delegation. First, the meeting started and presided actually by the governor himself. And later, when it came to the nitty-gritty of drafting the agreement and also dotting the I's and crossing the T, the secretary to the Rivers State government, the head of service, commissioner for information, and other officials of government, including the general secretary of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Barrister Ima Ubwaja, and the general secretary of Trade Union Congress, Barrister Musa Lawal, all participated in coming up with this resolution that were reached yesterday.
Now, we know that labor demands are usually quite a lot, and in history, we've seen that agreements are not usually 100% met. So, in this context, what is the nature in terms of percentages? I mean, it appears as though labor, both parties are satisfied that the agreements reached will suffice now and hereafter. Is that the case?
Yes, all the major issues in contention actually were discussed, and they constitute the 8 item points. But in fact, going forward, what we did is that there should be a standing tripartite committee, and that is actually looking forward to ensure that all future challenges of labor are also addressed. And that's why when you look at the agreement, we have essentially, as I said, 8 items, The first item is to conclude the minimum wage. We want the collective agreement signed and also the consequential adjustment also completed. The second item is the unsealing of the NLC Secretariat. Yes, the Secretariat was built by the government. You remember it was commissioned in February. But when we had misunderstanding, it was sealed, and to say that there will be an structural defect test. So it has been sealed until we arrived here, and we agreed that by 7 o'clock this morning, that office should be unsealed. You remember also in the pendency of the dispute, there is the issue of outstanding health workers' salary. That date back to 2017, 2 months with the health salary. It was agreed that His Excellency agreed on the agreement that it will be released. Also, is the issue of the adjustment of pensions in line with the Constitution, and the issue of payment of pensions and gratuity. The other issue contained is actually, as I said, going forward, we should have a permanent structure where the interface between the organized labor in River State and the River State government will be on continuous basis. You know, there is this ILO convention, Convention 144, on tripartism and social dialogue. Because in the workplace, issues of conflicts is normal. And therefore, there ought to be a permanent structure in place to be able to apprehend, discuss, and resolve such issues. And this is what we have at the national level. That's why we have the issue of the National Labour Advisory Council, which we have said must be constituted and must be working so that all labour issues, it doesn't have to be treated on ad hoc basis. It should be an ongoing issue. So those are part of the issues that were discussed and also agreed in the entire discussion that we lasted 6 hours.
Our guest in Abuja, Dr. Chidilord, disagrees with NLC's claim that pensions and gratuity have not been paid to retired workers since 2015. So we'd like to know what exactly is the case. Is it that those pensions have not really been paid, or what? Because that is one of the demands that Labour put forward for the River State government.
Yes, first, the issue of gratuity, we agreed that it has not been paid. In fact, it's from 2012, the issue of gratuity. While the issue of pension, which is two-folded. One is the adjustment. You know that depending on the time you retire, sometimes pension can be static. But the Constitution provides that anytime you review the minimum wage, you also try to look at how to adjust the pension so that it also accommodates the challenges of the moment. And the second leg of the pension is the contributory pension, where I think workers are contributing, and then there should be a counterpart funding to make it workable. But the other issue is also, once you retire from service, which is one of the issues I think that I'm happy the governor personally addressed, is that once you retire, you will then migrate from your salary pay point, you then migrate automatically to pensions. So I think those are some of the innovations that came into the agreement. But importantly, is actually the issue of gratuity, which I think in the course of the discussion, all of us agree that from 2012 to date, workers have not been paid any gratuity. And also the issue of death benefit, that when you die, your next of kin ought to have also been able to assess the issue of your death benefit. So those are the issues that actually form the basis of item number 6, and which is an issue that all the details will then be brought to the tripartite committee and resolved. So it's item number 6 actually on the agreement.
Okay, well, just before you go, have there been any conversations lately about the electricity tariff hike and the fuel price hike? The presidency has spoken saying it's inevitable.
No, I don't think it can be inevitable. It's an issue that I said what we try to do is, because our organs have already decided on this action, and certainly our organs are going to consult to look at this issue because workers are really the people at the receiving end. Everybody that is on fixed wages will be affected by this double barrel challenge of increase in electricity and then increase in the pump price of petroleum at a time when most workers have been pushed to the edge. Most workers now, because of the COVID-19, many of them from the informal sector and also part of organized private sector are losing their jobs. And therefore, these two increases, certainly I can say that is really not very sensitive at this point in time. And as I said, we will consult our organs. You know, we have 51 unions, affiliate unions, and we have our Central Working Committee and also the National Administrative Council. So Nigerians should be assured that we'll consult and our position will be made very clear how we will confront those issues. And the government will also be ready to be flexible because once you push people to the wall, you should also be ready to listen to their cries and also the challenges, because governance is about the people. And if governance is about the people need to be consulted and taken on board before you take such a major drastic decision. And particularly on the issue of tariff, why we are not happy is because we thought that first is to provide meters, but not to continue in this exploitative approach. And we say that, well, it's an agreement that has been signed. No, agreements can be reviewed. We cannot continue to go in a wrong direction, and every year will continue to increase the tariff, and there is no corresponding services, or you don't even pay for what you consume. This is the challenge that we have been having. And if the privatization has failed, we should have the guts to actually cancel the privatization and drive it in a way and manner that will benefit the citizens, because government is about security and welfare of the people.
Okay.
So essentially, we are not happy with what is happening, and we will consult our organs, and you know how we operate. You will also be informed of what we think would be appropriate.
We'll definitely, keep tabs on that consultation. But let's get Dr. Lloyd's closing thoughts. He might want to also weigh in on the issue about pension and gratuities. Dr. Lloyd, please go ahead.
Well, I heard the national president clearly. He talked about issues of adjustments, and I still maintain that does not mean that the Rivers State government have not been paying pensions. I told you of the story of my two aunties and uncle who also enjoy pensions. But because I wasn't part of the agreement they reached, the president may have more information. But I know that the Rivers State government is paying pensions. I do know that very well.
And then, Dr. Chidi Lloyd, thank you very much indeed for your thought this morning. And we also do thank Yuba Waba, President of the NLC.